patriotic. My father enjoyed that a lot, where he'd served in the Marine Corps. You put that flag up, he would really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Honored his patriotism and his service. He served all the way through World War II as a Marine. He was on Pearl Harbor the day it was bombed. Yeah, that flag means something. It stands for something. I'm David J. Hawkins. I was born in Ogden, Utah in 1947, April the 17th. And now I live here on a farm in Lakeshore, Spanish Fork, Utah. I built this house and started it in '07, finished it in '08. I expect to live here till I die.
And your father lived here too as well?
Yeah, we built the apartment for him, and he lived here 3 years till he passed away. My parents were very humble, quiet people that lived on a ranch and worked in the agricultural industry, the cattle ranch. My father was 6 years in the Marine Corps, and when he got out, they met and married, and that's where I was born, up in Ogden. And then we moved to Nevada for 5 years on the ranch down there, and then we moved to Florida and when I was 5, and I lived all my schooling years in Florida. There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And Lord, I know I'm one with one hand on the Bible, other on the train. I'm going back to New Orleans to wear the ball and chain. One of the funnest things when I was a young boy was to be on a horse and have that horse galloping just as fast as he could run with no saddle on, and the mane just flying, and I would be leaning forward, grabbing hold of that mane, thinking I was just a wild Indian going down the road, because the Indians rode without saddles. To have a horse running at full speed, like 35 miles an hour, he was just all out running, and his mane and tail flying, and you were on his back. That was pretty great. What was my biggest fear growing up? I think that I wouldn't get to be there in time for supper. I had no fear. I was fearless. We had a wonderful life. There was nothing to fear. Oh, I tell you, there was one thing we feared. When I was young, wild boar hogs would come out of the woods and come up around the house or ranch houses. They would try to root in our garbage or find something to eat. Or sometime we would have pigs in the pig pen that we were raising to slaughter, to eat. And maybe one of those, they'd come up to visit one of those pigs. And those wild hogs could be very dangerous. They had big, long tusks sticking out of their mouth, and they were very vicious. And sometimes we'd go outside when we were young boys, and there'd be a wild hog, and he'd chase us right back into the house. And if he'd have caught us, he'd have cut us up really bad with his tusks. So pretty soon, here come Dad's pickup. Here it came, and he came up and parked and got out and came in the house. He said, "What's the matter?" And He said, there's a wild boar hog in the backyard and he's chased us and we're scared of him. He said, okay, get me my rope. And I said, rope? Get your rifle, go shoot him. He said, well, I don't want to shoot him, just get me a rope. So we had a lasso that we roped cattle with and gave it to him. He started building a little bit of a loop and walked out of the house. We all came out and was looking around the corner, and he started walking across the back pasture, and there was that hog back there. Well, about halfway across the little meadow pasture there, the hog spotted him and looked at him. And he was walking right towards the hog, making a loop in it with his rope. And that wild boar just came running straight for him, and we're like, oh no, he's gonna kill our father. Well, my father was pretty athletic. He'd been a Marine and everything. When that hog got right to him, he kind of jumped sideways and up in the air, and that pig came right by his leg, and he took that loop and yanked it around that pig's head and caught him by the neck and yanked him back and threw him down and sat on him. And we were all, yay! He took the rope and tied the pig's legs together where he couldn't get up. And then he backed his pickup out into there and with some help loaded it up in the back of it and hauled the pig off. I don't know where he took it, but it was gone. We thought he was the biggest hero. He caught a wild boar and he didn't even shoot it. When I was a boy, I was about 15 or 16. A movie came out. It was called The Life Story of Hank Williams, and it's called Your Cheating Heart, which was the song that made him famous in country music. In fact, he died in an automobile accident going to a concert where he was going to sing that and a lot of his other songs. Anyway, I came right home and bought me a $10 guitar and learned to sing. Your cheating heart will make you blue. You cry and cry the way I do, but sleep won't come the whole night through. Cheating heart is gonna tell on you. This is a Mexican guitar. This was made by a famous guitar maker named Jeronimo Azmeca. I'd sing guitars all over Mexico, and every one of them would say Paracho, Michoacan. And I said, I've never been to the state of Michoacan, or much less to Paracho, and I'd talk to people that knew about it and said, it's just a little town up high in the mountains of Michoacan. But you walk down the street and almost every business is a guitar maker. And they make hundreds of guitars all by hand, and they wrap them up and send them all over Mexico, and most all the guitars in Mexico are made in Paracho.
Wow.
It's the good guitar capital of Mexico. And I said, well, I've got to go. I had a cheap guitars that I'd bought in Mexico. So after we'd been home going to BYU, we took a trip down there one summer and went to Paracho. I walked all up and down the street and I said, who's the very best guitar maker? Who is it? And they said, oh, the very best guitar maker, he's down in the Casa de las Guitarras. It's old Jeronimo Azmeca. And so we kept asking and kept asking. Finally, we got to his shop and went in, and there he was, an old man. And boy, did he make fine guitars. They were like concert guitars, you know.
Wow.
Really good ones. And so I said, I want you to make me a guitar. How much? And he goes, well, how fine a guitar do you want? ¿Qué tipo de guitarra quieres, mi hijo? And so I said, a really good one. And so we talked about all the specifications of it. He quoted me a price. I paid him half down. Went to the United States and waited a year. And finally, he calls me up and said, I've got your guitar ready. Send me the rest of the money. So I sent him the rest of the money, and he packed it up really carefully and put it on the airplane and sent it to me. I went to Salt Lake Airport and picked it up. Para bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba se necesita una poca de gracia, una poca de gracia y otra cosita y arriba